Senator Portman, I want to personally apologize for not writing you sooner. I wanted to share what one of your college-age citizens is thinking. I have never found it this necessary to contact my legislators. However, I feel it's my civic duty to inform you how outraged I am over your decision to vote in favor of Betsy DeVos for Secretary of Education. Much like the majority of our country, I have been overwhelmed the past few weeks by the surreal political movement and polarization in this country. Although I desperately attempt to be optimistic, I consider DeVos's appointment as nothing short of tragic and a giant blow against a peaceful and responsible future for America. I agree with you that our public education is absolutely in desperate need of reform. I've spent the vast majority of my life in Ohio public schooling, where I was harassed, humiliated, and eventually ignored and pushed aside by the staff and administration. Despite my experience, I find it morbid to think of future students having to participate in a similar program led by DeVos's lack of guidance. DeVos has absolutely no experience in public education, no concept of what it's like to struggle to afford higher education, and has made it painfully obvious that she has no knowledge of education evaluation. On what grounds should she be given a platform to speak for the American people about national education policy? I've read the defense of your yes vote, which was released by your office, and I'm very unimpressed. Having spent countless hours reviewing C-SPAN in the last week, I do not understand how you drew the conclusion that DeVos intends to protect the rights to a free and appropriate public education for students with disabilities, ensuring that each student receives a quality education, or to have higher education accessible and affordable to all Americans. You, as well as I, saw how she demonstrated a complete lack of knowledge when it came to the role of Secretary of Education. It was a downright embarrassment to the appointment process. I was especially appalled by DeVos's response to Senator Franken's inquiry regarding whether she found growth or proficiency to be a better measurement of educational institutions. As a firm believer that an educated population ensures a responsible and positive society, I am extremely fearful as to what this may mean for the future of our country. As a recent product of the current system, I can tell you firsthand that students are not learning or being taught the basic steps of critical thinking. I'm disturbed by the passive approach to restructuring our institutions. To touch on the pandemic of fake news being spread upon the internet, we're taught in schools to sensationalize trivial information and regurgitate it amongst our peers and elders. It's exactly this kind of small-mindedness that takes to fascism, which seems to be a great way to describe this rising political regime. I cannot imagine anything more un-American than leniency towards fascism. But lately, I appear to be continuously wrong about the integrity of this nation's people. Senator Portman, do you know why strong public schools are so important? It is fundamental that each citizen is provided a comprehensive education as it inspires the best in our society. Often it's described that a civilization is only as strong as its weakest link. I'd like to paint that point on a larger scale. A society can only progress as far as you inspire it. It is my aspiration that the next generation is considerably better than me. In my understanding, the most I can hope to achieve in this world is not just my potential children, but everyone's child is more intelligent, more compassionate, and more understanding than myself. You cannot deny the absurd amount of hate in this world. But can you not also agree that educating young minds is a peaceful way to bridge some understanding? This is apolitical. Democrats, Republicans, socialists alike can all agree education is fundamental. Therefore, I get confused when these values aren't demonstrated openly in our culture. American football stadiums receive funding before our schools. Teaching positions are drastically underpaid and overworked. And the quality of education students are receiving is embarrassing. I was lucky enough to end up in a wealthy community, but even I had to wade through my fair share of American football coaches, child molesters, religious purists, and alcoholic instructors. Our education system is underfunded, archaic, and dysfunctionally structured to the point on where I sometimes question why our government bothers to feign enthusiasm. How is a course on ethics and philosophy not a requirement of high school students? I had a cousin that taught public Montessori here in Ohio. After 5 years of fighting the Board of Education so she could properly instruct her students in the Montessori method, she gave up and moved to South Carolina, where she is absolutely thriving in a positive educational atmosphere. It's still public, but it's a system willing to focus on the needs of the individual students. Schools aren't to be run like businesses, Senator Portman. What they produce are living, breathing, unique beings capable of their own thoughts when you allow them. More importantly, educational systems do not react the same as a car manufacturer on the capitalistic market. Public education can be done properly if we stop talking about how much we love schools and actually pitch in to help. Ironically, talking about how much Betsy DeVos loves schools seems to be all she knows on the topic. Senator Portman, I haven't yet to mention the impact carried by DeVos even being considered a candidate. I have never seen people so scared over political issues in my life. The Trump regime is looking more and more like an oligarchy each day, and it's causing restlessness in citizens. I appreciated Senator Sanders when he questioned DeVos on whether she thought she would have been considered for this position had her family not donated $200 million to various Republican causes and candidates. Where did she come from, and how did she get this far? I understand there comes a level of respect that's brought by a president's choice for the cabinet members, but I don't know if you noticed, the rules to this political game have significantly changed in the past 3 months. I cannot accept that half of our Senate has yet to catch on. Tolerance towards any type of oligarchic movement is a form of surrender. By the time that you start giving a damn again, you may no longer have the authority to stop it. I'm about to graduate from university, Senator Portman. I hope to have a 3.8 GPA by the end of this semester. And after putting myself through college, I'll be about $30,000 in debt, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. The kind of support and representation that I have received as a citizen in Ohio makes the thought of living here very unappealing. I've lived here nearly my entire life, and I'm not sure where to call home. I know I'm not alone. Several students in my graduating class intend on leaving Ohio, and I'm curious what you think about some of the best and brightest young Ohioans feeling that they're being forced out of their birth state. It's a dark thought, but perhaps that's the intention. It is certainly a lot easier to represent an uneducated populace too unmotivated to protest. I do hope you don't take offense to that thought. I only vocalize it because I'm so unsure about this world anymore. Senator Portman, I was raised by my mom, a loving caregiver, a very educated and patriotic government employee, and a daughter of the American Revolution. She's working hard to help my little brother start college at Kent State in the fall. And I called her yesterday to see how she was doing. She was in tears. The Trump administration and its infinite repercussions, Governor Kasek's cutting of library funds, DeVos's appointment, and all of the hate widespread in between. She now feels abandoned by her country, her state, her community. I've never seen her in such a state in all my life, and I wanted to share that with you. I found it shocking, and I cannot help but find you partially responsible. Senator Portman, you are an elected official of Ohio and a representative of the American people in spirit. Although we may disagree on several fundamental issues, I still expect you to serve in the best interests of the public, regardless of party affiliation. Just as you expect individuals such as myself to be law-abiding, responsible, and community-minded citizens. I'm not sure if you describe yourself as a pragmatist, utilitarian, or determine personal ethics on another level of rationality. But enabling a solipsistic child to use his imagination when it comes to the power of the presidency cannot be construed to benefit the American people. Senator Portman, I have an 18-credit-hour semester, a capstone project due at its end, an internship. I work 2 jobs and run a college radio station just to keep afloat in this crazy world. I took time out of my day to write to you. I may just be a voice to you, but I'm far from alone. The American people are scared, Senator, and no one is reassuring them at the moment. To say DeVos's appointment was a conflict of interest is a gross understatement. And if this is the sort of representation we are to expect from you, I'm all the more troubled. This is not normal, Senator. Things are not okay. You are allowing this corruption to run deep, and it will be so much more difficult to eradicate it when needed. You are a voice for Ohioans. You need to draw the line. The American people can only take so much before they snap. Do not wait until you are directly affected by this change to take action. Do what's right. The world is watching you. As my first letter to the Senate, I hope it didn't run too long. Sincerely, Teej.